here is the ornithopter propped up on a platform. And I was already thinking about how I will present it in an exhibition. I will probably keep one arm closed and the other open to show the range of motion, because they are articulated by hands and they have no machinery in it. But I'm not gonna talk about all the flaws that I see in it, because as you see, it is absolutely pristine. And I've added the what you don't see is kinda, because of course you see the slits on the cover plate, and the cover plate really rounds the shape up. But what you don't see is I have like literally 50 heat fins cut out of this, which is part of a, I don't know the English word again. You know, when it's raining and you open up the thing, so, and there's a piece of fabric on top of it. I don't remember the name, but it has this U shape, if the camera can focus on it. Yeah, it's like a very thin metal and has a U shape. And if you add a bunch of these side by side, it looks like a heatsink. And I've cut like 50 pieces out of it, and I laced it around almost the entire circumference. You can see it, part of it is up, but under the cover plate it's all just heatsink. I mean, this is insane, but I've added the screws so the cover plate can be removed. So it's not like, but just I am conflicted about realism and just plain illustration, efficient illustration, because it's like 200 hours of effort, more than 200 hours of effort I've already put into this. And I'm going to the point, I long came to the point where I was thinking, who is gonna pay for this? I mean, if I take minimum wage, I'm beginning to approach the 3,000s just to pay for the time I've invested if I'm going to sell this as a sculpture. And I'm not even ready, I'm not even done. I actually wanted to put in the cockpit. It's not just the cockpit, the entire interior. But now I realize that I need to wrap things up because money is getting tired. I look at my bank account and I'm at the last bit. It's just kind of like my art teacher. He was sharing some of his stories when he was first starting his professional work. He had it's just like similar to his story, but I mean, I'm not in a desperate spot right now, but I'm going to look for a technical drawing job, and I'm going to use this as a portfolio piece. And this serves three purposes actually. I mean, or four. It's like, first, it's like what I always wanted to do when I started technical drawing when I went to trade school at 2013. And I remember the first thing I built when I first started playing around with CAD software. I mean, we did 1 year just doing drawings by hand with pencil and paper. I would have preferred if we directly start with CAD, but that's besides the point right now. When I started with CAD design in second year, it's like this is the kind of stuff I started to build. Like I started building, I remember, an arm of a rover, like some rover. But I didn't take reference. I did it out of my imagination. I added some shapes and I added a truss structure and I added welding points and a motor to one side, and I imagined a wheel that I constructed out of pieces of rubber that I extruded. I used every single tool I learned in the CAD software, and I just immediately was creative. But then more and more I stopped doing this because I had to do the curriculum, and this is what brought me into immense conflict with my tutors, because their opinion was, if I'm going to work, I mean, sometimes, like, when the job's done, I can ask my boss if I could, like, spend 10-15 minutes working on this personal project. But for me, it was the complete opposite. This is the very thing that was, like, stuff like this that was driving, actually, my motivation to learn and build stuff. And it's this creative energy that I tap into. By the way, I've watched a not podcast, an interview of my favorite musician, and I think I'm kind of like doing the similar thing as he was doing, talking about himself. That's what I'm doing. I think maybe it's important for anybody now discovering what I do to immediately get an insight about all the stuff that's going on about me and the important stuff and why I do this. But yeah, back to technical drawing and the stuff with my teachers, with my tutors. There was different. Two different parts. There was the school part and there was the tutor part, where we were actually in a place where we had people who had actual work experience teaching us the ropes of how to do technical drawing, and all the background stuff we learned in the school. And the school, I had a great teacher who was very supportive of all the stuff I did, but she was also in conflict with all the tutors there, and this was like a conflict point. And I found myself in the middle of this, but yes, as the tutors said, their opinion was that this stuff is it's like side stuff, and for me it was the main stuff. And I built RC vehicles, and every single stuff I imagined myself. It's not like, I took reference, of course, because you have to take reference to get an idea about something. But what you do with this, I never took stuff one-to-one. I didn't reconstruct stuff. I want to make my own thing. And I think I realized, because back when I look at stuff on Instagram, it was always that, I don't know, so that I cry. Yeah, by the way, the musician that I listened to was Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, and it's a lot of stuff happening right now. Like, it might look like I'm just jumping from one topic to another, and it may look like incoherent, and sometimes like I talk about this and then jumps over to the other. But yeah, why I cried was like when I was first listening to his music, like, kind of taught me to connect to this sadness and expressing it. But yeah, the stuff that was happening, it was to cry to. I slammed one of the vehicles I built completely on the ground, and there was no reaction from the tutors. There was that kind woman, I thought she understood this, and she was just walking past, and she was looking at this, and she was looking away, and she became kind of awkward, and she just never mentioned a single thing about this. Then I smashed to the ground, because, yeah. But fast forward 7 years, and I'm doing this. I wouldn't have believed this. I mean, it's like, how much stuff am I gonna be able to compress in 10 minutes? Like, there's a lot going on. Maybe if I do a YouTube video or something like this, or maybe one day, I'm thinking about doing, like, it's like, Instagram is just 2 people. New people came, like, I think one is an engineer, I guess, I suppose. Engineers find stuff like this cool from Iran, which is crazy. Somebody from a different country. And I'm just hoping that this is going to lead to something that is just more than. I mean, I felt like my creativity had no place back in technical drawing. It had no place in it. I mean, it was what I wanted to do, but when I was doing the stuff, or the opinion, based on the opinion, the energy I got from my tutors, there was no place for this. It's not just that there was no place. I mean, I could do it if I want, but it's like whatever. Like, it might as well not be there. It would make no difference. It's cool if it's there. It's like novel. It's just like if you have a green shirt instead of a red one, if you're creative or not. Or if you have this creative urge, it's like, doesn't make much of a difference. It's about having the job done. How you do it, whatever. This is how it felt, and I wanted this part of me to be the main thing. And not just some side thing, like some blip on the side. It's just like, I don't want this stuff to be whatever. I want this to be the main thing. And I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah, back. I took a a big detour. Now I remember I was about to say 4 points, and 1 point was about this. It's the thing I actually always wanted to do when I was doing technical drawing. This was the very first impulse I had once I got the tool of using a CAD software. The very first thing, this was what I kind of wanted to do. It was in this style, in this fashion. I mean, this thing, wasn't the first impulse. It originated from a friend who was reading Dune at the time, and right now I'm studying product design, and connecting to the stuff I said where my creativity, or a part of me that I felt was important, was feeling like it's just an irrelevant property that might as well not be there. I have the same feeling in product design too. It's better than technical drawing. Now that I study product design at an actual art school, I never thought I would get accepted to an art school. But the thing that I now feel, it's like I have a sense I'm getting closer to, getting closer, but yeah, I'm getting closer to I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a role I want to find myself in, a duty or a calling where the wholeness of me is utilized fully and appreciated, because the parts of me are needed, and the ones that but yeah, now I was product design. What it was like when I was there, felt like it was exactly what I wanted to do. And I fast forward, now I'm at 8th, 9th, 10th semester. Before that it happens. I mean, if I feel, it started right at the beginning. There was a sense that everybody was an actor. I don't want to sound like it's not a conspiracy theory way that everybody is just playing an act or something, and I'm just the only sane person here. It's like there was a part. It's like the core message that it's not a message. It's like people walking there. They were not the real deal. They were all like the product, the stuff. They were. It's weird. It's an energy thing. It didn't feel. It didn't sit right to me. It felt like. And then I realized, okay, when I had my art teacher, he said like, maybe I should consider fine art. I mean, I went to fine art. I hate all the fine art that's there. But maybe that's the thing, because everybody is so individual. Like, you can't get along even though you both are fine artists. Because it's all about the person. So maybe it's that. But fine art feels to me like if you're a complete failure, like this is like the last category you can be shoved in. Like, okay, now you don't fit here, okay, then do fine art, like do whatever. This is how it felt. But yeah, I want to finish. I want to get a degree. I want to get a university degree, and I'm going to decide what it's going to be. Maybe it's product design if I get myself to, if I can endure. Because I had this fear that once there's this label, the world has its way of pushing you through the path of least resistance. You already have studied product design. You could, or you go to the job center and the woman reads product design and she only offers you product design related stuff, or you have friends and you actually want to do stuff in your core, but people see you from the outside as the product designer label, and they will say it's sensible because it's the easy way, and it's like already like it's the stuff you've already done, and it's sensible to do this. And there will be, when somebody tries to explain something, they justify the point, and it will be, I fear it will be very convincing to continue with product design. But it might also be just an obsessive thought that comes from fear. Because I've talked a lot with people, different ones. I mean, they say you are not locked to that path just because you have this word hovering above you saying you are a doctor or an engineer. I wish I would. Actually, I hated engineering. It's like here in Germany, at least in the place I live in Kassel, engineering is not engineering. It's not, in German it's called Maschinenbau, which is building machines. It literally translates to building machines. But when I was there, I was wanted to do stuff like this, but stuff like this that works. And I wanted this to be appreciated because I felt like this is great stuff that I do, and I just want there, and maybe the professor looks at this and this is great stuff, and you can do this or this and that, and maybe I was hoping for support or interest, maybe on an emotional level. Now it's got enough time to think about this. And funny enough, in engineering, in Maschinenbau, you do everything except building fucking machines. This is the last thing you do. You do all the shit before, and then at the end you build the machine, which is funny enough, it's exactly the mode my technical drawing stuff would have gone if I didn't start just out of my own accord, just building the stuff. And this is how I learned about all. Like, I was because this motivates me, and I had a 3D printer. I bought a 3D printer. My grandfather actually gave me money. My parents also added a little bit, and with that we bought me a 3D printer, out of which I built all this different stuff. And through doing this, we had these books and all these lessons, and I applied all the lessons onto the stuff I was printing with my 3D printer. And calculations for force, and when I was building the RC cars, I was calculating the speed through the motor RPM based on the average load. If you have an ESC plugged onto this thing and the motor has a kV, now I get very nerdy and technical, but the motor has like all this connected stuff, and I was calculating stuff that is actually literally what you're supposed to learn, and I was doing this by building stuff like this, and this was not what they wanted, and this is baffling because I came to the point where this is not what you're supposed to do, but I did it anyway. I mean, I lost interest when it's like I lost motivation, but now 7 years later I did it again. Well, now that I'm at the precipice of finding a new job, while I'm at my last semester, basically, and I want to have my own apartment. While I'm doing this, where at home, like I'm in this, in this little room, in this island, or I don't know how to describe this, but there's no outside influence anymore from my parents, who I feel they mean the best. And looking back, I mean, they saw me most of the time as demotivated, of course. And so my mom took the initiative, and she was always pushing me and always getting very sensitive to any indicator that I might show laziness. And this is not healthy for me right now, at least based on my own judgment. My own judgment might be flawed, but at the same time, no, I know it's the right decision, because I know that I'm capable. I mean, it's the interesting thing, like no matter how much you do, you always might end up feeling like you're incapable, and there are sometimes where I look at this thing and I feel like what I'm building is just like, there's so many different things, like nobody's gonna build practical stuff anymore like this. It's all CAD software, and even if it's CAD software, it's all been subsidized by people from I don't want to sound racist, but I've had this one day this fear that like there won't be any technical drawing jobs, because it's all being outsourced to India, because no, it's like these are all fears. And I mean, the people there, they have learned this, and they deserve to have the same opportunity. It's just that when you're at the very end and you're in this hole, and I did some paintings about this, the world begins to look very grim, and begins to look like a wasteland, just like on the moon. And there are many days back then when I feel like Germany is just a wasteland of opportunities. It's just, you go there and you hear that there's a lot of opportunities, but when you're there, it's like, it's just It's just nothing. It's just a wasteland. And these were just words that were said to you that meant nothing. And you're there and you just walk around and there's nobody there. I mean, there are people, but I mean, metaphorically. But yeah, now I'm on another tangent. But this is how much stuff just got picked up now that I was carrying behind me in this net, metaphorically, just like in that one Nine Inch Nails song that I like to listen. I mean, every single song I love from him, but I mean, from Trent, from which, or whatever. Okay, I'm going back to the 4 points I wanted actually to name about this thing, and point 1 was that it was the kind of thing I always wanted to do when I started technical drawing. The very first thing when I had the CAD's computer-aided design software open the window, and I had the tools, and I started being creative. This was the natural thing I wanted to do, and it took me 7 years, but now. And it took me the incentive, the pressure, the financial pressure, and the life pressure, and the university pressure, and the family pressure, and the Okay, I'm not gonna go on to another tangent. I wanted to add something, but now we go to point 2, which I forgot. Hi.